Hello and welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is June 8th, 2026. I've got a lot of news for you today, but taking a quick look at the charts first. And yeah, none of this is financial advice and so forth. So I already recorded this once and now I'm recording it again because my microphone wasn't working. And yeah, that's always fun. So I'll probably whip through this really quick and anyhow, just take that into consideration. So ETH has pumped a little bit today. We're still quite a bit out of range. Things are looking okay, but it's like 200% below all-time high. So yeah, we need quite a bit of pumping. If you bought up here at the all-time highs or close to there, and you're holding spot, I would highly suggest you to consider a option to get some interest, some APR on your ETH while you wait for recovery. Will it ever recover? We never know, right? So hype is looking also pretty good. I think I called the hype ranges pretty well with my concentrated liquidity. I stayed in range, so that's good. Gold has been bouncing around. I did bring it down a little bit, and it's bouncing around my range. But I'll leave it like this and continue to farm some of these rewards. Bitcoin's looking exactly the same as ETH, and they're correlated as always. So let's move over to the tweets. Okay, so here we have L2Beat. L2Beat wrote a quick little article or a little thread on the upgrade to base Azul. Okay, the main idea here is that they've changed the finalization. So they've allowed for this, like these two proofs. So a single proof type can resolve the game, but a new verifier allows for a faster finalization should both proofs be posted. So if you do post, if there are two proofs posted, then finalization can be reduced from 7 days to 1 day. So basically, like when you're using the native bridge or when they're finalizing transactions on mainnet, from base, now it's only takes 1 day instead of 7 days with this upgrade. So they say this is a cool step towards stage 2. It's not stage 2, but it is getting them closer to stage 2, and that's that. So yeah, you can check that out. You can read through this tweet and get a better understanding what it means, or read through this article, these higher details in here. But I like this tweet. So here we have DCF God talking about Bitminer versus MicroStrategy or strategy, and he's basically saying what lots of people are saying, but the key thing here is that it's not the same. You can't compare Bitminer to MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy has billions of these STRC dividend preferred shares out right now, and they owe tons of money in dividends already to these people. Because it's below $100. So that's already an issue there. Bitminer doesn't have any of these products out yet. And then on top of that, if Bitminer does start selling one of these preferred share kind of products, they have staked ETH rewards in order to pay them. So yes, they don't need to sell their principal ETH. They'll need to sell the staked ETH rewards, which are in ETH. So if you stake ETH, you get more ETH, right? So they'll need to sell that in order to pay dividends if they launch one of these products. But the way it's going right now, they don't have this, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars in ETH rewards from their staked ETH, which MicroStrategy can't do. And because of that, they could do one of these things, one of these kind of preferred share type dividend products. Okay, so I saw this tweet today. There's a few people tweeting this out. I've seen a few guys who have done this. This is insanity. Please don't ask people to do this. And if you are asking people to do this kind of stuff, shame on you. Yes, I understand this guy's probably living a terrible life and he doesn't care. And 200 Sol can really help him a lot, and that's why he's willing to do this. But there are better ways to support or help out people in need than to do this kind of degenerate asking people to tattoo shit on their face. But anyways, that's that. Moving on. So Zach XBT retweeted this thing here. So he's like, So let me read what Orange says. Be careful if your coins previously touched Huobi HTX, as sanctions were imposed against them. So yeah, there's a lot of people. So England has sanctioned HTX. I'm not from England. I'm not a UK citizen, and I've never used HTX. So it doesn't really concern me, but it is significant news. There's a lot of money going through HTX. A lot of people have used HTX in the past, and the UK has decided to like just sanction everyone who's touched that. Now, if you're in UK, that's pretty bad. You better start figuring out, and especially if you've used HTX, you better start figuring out what you can do. But this is newsworthy and it is worth sharing. I don't have any like comments on it, but I figure it's pretty important and I should share it. Okay, so yeah, so Tom Lee somehow came up with $200 million and bought more ETH. So I don't know how he did it. I welcome him to do this. That's great. And the chart does kind of look like it had a positive effect. Ramses tweeted out these three key factors here about Ramses. So there are different kinds of users, different kinds of people in this system. So first of all, we have passive people. So you can use wide range LPs, you can use auto vaults, and you can use HyperRAM and be completely passive. You never have to show up. If you want to be active, you can go 1-tick LPs or 3-tick LPs, right? And you can vote with XRAM every week, okay? And if just another thing is insane, that Ramses has spent about $2 million on audits, and they're both posting Ramses 7 days a week and explaining anything else. And then I just kind of added a friendly fork, Ceazor friendly forks RAM, because he loves it. I do really actually enjoy the user experience at Rams. I think this XRAM is a pretty clever idea. It allows for the RAM to be burnt immediately, as well as people to exit without having to sell NFTs on the third-party market. Anyhow, so that's that. Let's move on to Frax Finance. So Frax Finance is just basically saying DeFi wins when users get rewarded. FXS is designed to share more of the value back to the people actually using the system. So you can read through who he's replying to. He's basically saying, there's APR on lenders and users of Frax USD on Aave v4. But anywhere you look at Frax, anywhere you look to see FRX USD, you will find that Frax is giving some sort of incentives there. Like not everywhere, but like the vast majority is there. If you have an LP and you use Frax FRX USD, then you can reach out to them and they will help incentivize your pool in some way. Of course, if you've got like $200 in there, it's a waste of time. You'll get like fractions of a penny per week. But if you've got $1 million or $500,000 in your pool, then it's probably a better choice to use FRX USD. The actual product is very comparable to USDC, except they care about DeFi. Whereas Circle doesn't care about DeFi, and beyond the fact that they just want to milk it, right? Moving on. On the other end of stablecoins, so Frax Finance is my centralized stablecoin solution with TradFi backing, whereas Liquidity is my choice of stablecoin that is just backed by ETH. So here it is. It says DeFi average rates are 50% cheaper than Maker, and Liquidity is 50% cheaper still. Okay, so big savings are possible for Joe. So what is it saying here? If you were to use ETH or Lido ETH or Rocket Pool ETH to borrow in DeFi, you're going to pay around 5%, 4 to 5%, right? On DeFi, that's on Maker, you're going to pay, I guess, 8%, around 8%. I'd have to look, but that's basically what they're saying. And then if you use on Liquidity, you're going to pay even half of that, so 1 to 2%. To borrow Bold right now. So yeah, just give it a try. If you do have CDPs, it's definitely worth considering using this instead, or to some amount of instead. Okay, Nathan Jour, he's with ETH Strategy. He's one of the people who I talked to about options and ETH strategies particularly. But take a look at what he says here. Okay. So he's saying Ceazor could sell covered calls on BTC to fund preferred and still capture upside spread. So what does that mean? Those MSTR I talked about a little while ago that he has to pay dividends to every week, he could sell covered calls instead, right? So a 20% out of the money covered calls would probably cover his interest expenses. And if they expire in the money, he still make more in BTC terms. So good for MSTR holders. Okay, so what does that mean? Basically, he's selling call options, right, to people who want them, and use the premiums paid to pay for his interest. And if he has to give, if he does have to buy those, like that BTC off those people who have the call options, then he will get more BTC. And if it's out of the money, then he just gets premiums. So, and he's like, how does it work? How does he know it works? Well, because that's what they do with ETH Strategy and ESPN. So ESPN is basically the same thing as what he's describing, except it's using ETH and it's all on chain. So you can check it out. I did do a video on ESPN if you want to understand more, or you can go to ETH Strategy, ask them questions and figure it out. Now, moving on. So here we have Ergonov, Michael, right? He's talking about a proposal here on yield basis to reduce the need from 55% to 45%. What does that mean? Okay, so this hybrid vault is, I did a video on it if you want to see in detail, but basically it's a, if you cannot deposit ETH or BTC in yield basis because the caps are full, you can use the hybrid vault instead. And what it asks you to do is it asks you to, if you deposit $100,000 worth of ETH or BTC, right, then you also have to bring 55% of that value in CRV USD, and that CRV USD is put into SCRV USD, so interest-bearing CRV USD. But they're trying to reduce it from 55% to 45%. So instead of $100,000 worth of ETH and $55,000 worth of CRV, it will be now $45,000 worth of CRV. Now, I assume that they did the math and that it makes sense and that it will keep the protocol sustainable and unvolatile in this case. But yeah, so that's going live. You can vote here if you have voting power. The last thing I want to share today is Aerodrome dropped this article on the weekend. I read through this to make it very, very simple. Of course, you want to read all of this and get all the details and stuff like that. But to make it very, very simple, basically what it's doing is they're going to change the voting epochs. So instead of voting every 7 weeks, every 7 days, every week, and then it flips, and then the situation stays the same of all the voting for another whole week, you can change your vote at any time. So anytime during the week, you can be like, yeah, I don't want to vote on this anymore. I'm going to direct my vote somewhere else. And if you direct your vote somewhere else, then your emissions, the emissions that you're directing, go to the new place, and you start taking the fees from the new place instead of the old place, right? Now, there's a 48-hour cooldown, so you can't just jump around every minute. You can change, and then you have to wait 2 days, and then you can change again. Okay, and then it's basically live voting. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Read through the article if you want to know more, and that's it for today. I hope this is interesting. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.